You are my moon, you are my sun, you are the star of my eyes, you are alive. Sounds like a really beautiful, comforting lullaby, right? The kind of sweet, innocent song a parent sings to help a child drift off to sleep. But what if I told you that for a young guy named Sahil, these exact words mysteriously morphed into his absolute worst nightmare? Welcome in, everyone. Today we're dropping right into a true, deeply unsettling paranormal explainer that shows us just how thin the veil can be between our everyday reality and the shadows lurking in the dark. Let's get right into it.
Manali 28km, a true horror breakdown. In this explainer, we're going to take a chilling, chronological descent into a real-life horror story experienced by four friends on what was supposed to be a healing vacation in India. We'll be dissecting the timeline, the psychology, and the terrifying sequence of events that turned a beautiful mountain drive into a literal fight for survival.
Section 1. Journey to the Death Valley. So, this was meant to be a trip to heal. Four friends, Sahil, Chirag, Arun, and Samay, headed up to the breathtaking mountains of Manali. They were desperately hoping the fresh air would help Samay process the sudden, tragic loss of his little brother in a car accident.
Moving on to Section 2, the terrifying warning. Returned before 6 p.m. It's their third day, and as the group drove toward the high-altitude Rotang Pass, the hotel receptionist gave them a very grave, absolutely non-negotiable instruction: do not stay out past 6 p.m.
Now, the reason for this curfew lies in some seriously dark local lore. I mean, the word Rotang literally translates to Valley of Death, or a pile of corpses. Locals firmly believe that a phantom, illusory entity roams this valley at night, basically hunting for the vulnerable and killing anyone left behind. And while authorities have historically blamed these overnight deaths on, extreme cold or accidental falls, the locals, they know to lock their doors at 6 p.m. sharp. The friends, though, they just brushed it off as a silly tourist ghost story and kept right on driving. Let's trace their steps because their timeline perfectly maps out a rapid descent into absolute chaos. They ignored the warning, spent hours trekking, and by the time they decided to head back down the mountain, pitch darkness had fallen. They were completely isolated. Keep these events in mind because it's our roadmap for the nightmare that unfolds next.
Section 3. Mystery of Manali, 28 km. By 9:15 p.m., a blinding, heavy fog has trapped them, forcing the guys to creep along this treacherous cliffside at barely 30 kilometers per hour.
As they're navigating this super dangerous path, their headlights suddenly catch a stone milestone on the side of the road. It read, Manali 28 km. But the distance wasn't what sent a shiver down Sahil's spine. Because in the freezing, pitch-black night, there was a man sitting right on top of the milestone, wearing nothing but a thin white dhoti. Sahil found it incredibly bizarre, but the tension in the car was already so high he just decided to keep his mouth shut.
Guys, the true creeping dread set in exactly 20 minutes later, because emerging from the fog was the exact same milestone, Manali 28 km, and impossibly the exact same man. Sahil thought, okay, we must have just taken a wrong turn and driven in a massive circle, right? He was about to speak up, but then Chirag broke the silence, admitting out loud that he had also seen this exact milestone 20 minutes ago.
And this is where things get really wild. Comparing notes fractured their reality completely. Chirag said he saw a man in a white dhoti, but Sahil was like, actually scratch that, it was a little girl holding a toy. Then Arun, who was driving, chimed in, completely bewildered. He swore that at both milestones he had seen a large black horse just standing there watching them past. Everyone saw something completely different in the exact same spot. It's almost as if this entity was probing their minds, projecting custom illusions. And Samay suddenly slipped into this strange, detached trance, just repeating over and over that someone needed their help and they had to stop the car.
They managed to convince Arun to just keep driving carefully, desperately hoping to break this crazy loop. But soon after, it happened again. They passed the Manali 28 km milestone for a third time. Only this time, it delivered a truly chilling realization. The milestone was completely empty. No man, no little girl, no horse. Absolutely nothing.
Which brings us to Section 4, the Phantom's Chase. It's now approaching 11 p.m. Trapped in this dark illusion, Arun just stared dead ahead and gave a terrifying order to the rest of the guys. He said, "Do not look outside. Something is moving alongside our car." Now remember, they were going 40 kilometers per hour. And right outside the window, keeping perfect pace with the car, without even running, was a 15-year-old boy. He was covered in dirt, his face battered with injuries. Naturally, panic erupts in the car, but Samay, still locked in that bizarre trance,
just muttered that the boy needed help. You know, grief has this terrifying way of making us desperately reach out to the broken things we see. Before anyone could stop him, Samai reached over and actually rolled down his window, staring blankly at this injured phantom. Arun frantically mashed the central control buttons to force the window back up, but the electronics completely failed. It was only when the whole group screamed Samai's name that the boy finally stopped moving. But as Sahil checked the rearview mirror, he saw the boy standing in the road waving at them. And Samai was looking in the mirror, smiling, and waving right back.
Section 5. The Creepy Lullaby. By some absolute miracle, they finally broke the loop, returning safely to their hotel around 2 a.m. But as we're about to see, the horror had followed them inside.
Fast forward to 3:30 in the morning. Sahil is jolted awake by a sound. He looks across the dark hotel room, and I mean his blood absolutely runs cold. Samai is wide awake, he's standing right in front of the mirror, and he's singing a twisted version of a childhood lullaby to his own reflection. He's saying, "You are my moon, you are my sun, you are the star of my eyes, you are alive."
This is exactly where we see the entity's true, insidious nature, guys. It had literally weaponized Samai's profound grief. When Sahil woke the others up and they finally got a good look at Samai, his physical state was horrifying. His eyes were bloodshot and bright red. There were deep, fresh strangulation marks dug right into his neck, almost as if invisible hands were choking him from both sides. And plastered across his face was this creepy, unnatural, childlike smile. Obviously, none of them dared to even touch him.
As his friends are slowly backing away toward the door in pure terror, Samai turns to them. Still wearing that innocent, childlike smile, he asks them one final, spine-chilling question. He said, "If I knock on your window at night, will you open it and help me?" And the very second those words left his mouth, Samai abruptly collapsed onto the hotel room floor, completely unconscious.
Section 6. End of the terrifying night. As soon as the sun came up, the terrified friends literally dragged Samai to a local pundit, desperately hoping to save his life.
The pandit took one look and immediately realized what had happened. An opportunistic spirit had preyed on Samai's emotional vulnerability, basically mimicking his dead brother to gain a foothold in his mind. To save him, the pandit had to perform a rigorous 3-step ritual. First off, he warded off the evil eye. Second, he performed some really intense exorcism prayers and rituals over Samai's body. And finally, the possession actually broke when Samai violently expelled this dark, thick, completely unnatural liquid from his stomach. It's just wild to think about.
Today, thankfully, Samai is completely back to normal. But Sahil? To this day, he is still haunted by nightmares of that twisted lullaby. And honestly, it leaves us with a really heavy question to ponder. Just how vulnerable does our grief make us to the unseen shadows that lurk in the dark? Does our trauma act as some kind of beacon for things we can't fully explain? Think about that for a while. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you all in the next one.